Good evening. This is the 44th meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council, now called to order. Please turn off all cell phones or put them on vibrate. Tonight's invocation will be provided by Pastor Martin of Steel Meadow Community Church. And after he finishes with the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening or good afternoon. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for every opportunity to be in the presence of one another, and we thank you for this glorious city. We thank you for our elected officials, our servant leaders, and what is represented in this August assembly here this afternoon or this evening. In this week that is literally our Thanksgiving week, we want to just tell you how grateful we are for things being as well as they are. We know that there's so much to be done. We know that there's so much that needs to be done. But we are grateful for the land that we live in. We are grateful for the people that we get to serve with. And I'd like to say this evening to you as well that we are grateful for these servants, from the president of the council to my own councilman and others that we've had the privilege of getting to know. For their staffs and their offices, God, we thank you for them, and we ask that you would bless them, not only for this day and in this meeting, but that in this Thanksgiving season, that you would bless them for their sacrifices and for their commitments. We ask for a spirit of unity and a spirit of daring and a spirit of courage and a spirit of one anotherness. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. In Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Martin. Thank you so much. I want to thank Pastor Martin for the invocation. The clerk will call the roll of the members.
President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. This evening we welcome Laura Coleman, Education and Training Coordinator at, is this Araminta Freedom? Did I say that right?
Araminta.
Araminta Freedom. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Araminta is a nonprofit organization that's based in Baltimore City, and we work to eliminate child sex trafficking in Baltimore City and in the surrounding regions. And our name Araminta is significant to the work that we do because that was Harriet Tubman's birth name as a child slave right here in Maryland. And just as Tubman worked to defend and free hundreds of slaves, Araminta continues that legacy by working with those who are victims of what we consider modern-day slavery. And we work to help them find their freedom and their true worth. Now, one of the common misconceptions that we hear is that if sex trafficking is happening, then it's foreign nationals and not U.S. citizens. But in Maryland, 95% of those who have been identified and are receiving services through the task force are U.S. citizens. In fact, not only does child sex trafficking happen in every state, but the conservative estimate is that more than 100,000 children are victims of sexual exploitation each year. Now, in Maryland, child sex trafficking was not considered child abuse until 2012. But just 2 years later, 381 victims were receiving services through the task force. And of those whose ages were reported, more than half were children. Since that time, in the last 4 years, more than 200 cases have been identified across 17 Maryland counties. And the majority of those are Maryland residents between the ages of 14 and 17. Now, we give you statistics to give you an idea of the scope of the problem, but I want you to keep in mind that this is a criminal industry. It's the number 2 criminal industry in the United States and around the world, second only to drugs, and just in front of guns and weapons. But guns and weapons and drugs can only be sold once, and a person, a child, is sold over and over again. So it's likely in the next 18 months that sex trafficking will become the #1 criminal industry around the world, with an estimated annual profit of more than $150 billion, $99 billion of that going to sex trafficking. Now, Araminta's mission is to awaken, equip, and mobilize our church and our community to eliminate this issue of human trafficking through education, prevention strategies, and restorative survivor services. In the last 3 years, we have had the privilege of educating more than 3,500 staff members across 3 school districts and more than 2,600 adults in our community presentations to be able to recognize what child sex trafficking is and know how to respond to it when they see it. We partner with law enforcement, Child Protective Services, the Department of Juvenile Services, and community agencies to be connected to the needs of identified survivors. We believe that the brokenness that victims of trafficking have experienced happened because community and family failed them, and the work that we do helps them to be able to understand what healthy family and the rebuilding of community looks like. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that." To truly end this issue, we must all be the light that drives out the darkness of human trafficking, and it's our goal that someday traffickers will no longer be able to do business in Maryland because they will realize that as a community, we just will not allow it. I thank you for the privilege of being here tonight. I thank you for opening your hearts and your minds to this issue and to the work of Araminta. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give her a hand. I know this is something that's very dear to Councilman Burnett. He's been hitting up the human trafficking issue here in the city of Baltimore. So I'm glad to know that we have other people that are just as engaged. It is council custom to journalize invocation. Ask for a motion to journalize the prayer. Motion by Burnett, second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of journalized invocation say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We'll now proceed with the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journal of the proceedings from the October 15th City Council meeting is on council members' desks.
The motion to approve the journal. Motion by Councilman Henry, second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of adopting the journal say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carrying the journal is adopted. Bill signed by the mayor can be found on page 2 to 5 of the agenda. Bills to be introduced.
City Council Bill 18-0303, City Streets closing a portion of West Barney Street. For the purpose of condemning and closing a portion of West Barney Street extending easterly 208 feet, more or less, to the east side of Clarkson Street from the intersection of the south side of West Barney Street, east side of Race Street, as shown on Plat 128-A-36A in the Office of the Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsors, City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0304, Property Tax Credit 911 Public Safety Telecommunicators. For the purpose of establishing a tax credit against the property tax imposed on the principal residences of certain 911 public safety communicators, imposing certain limitations, conditions, and qualifications for credit eligibility, providing for the amount, duration, and administration of the credit, defining certain terms, providing for a special effective date, and generally relating to a property tax credit for qualified 911 public safety telecommunicators. Sponsors, Costello, President Young, Scott, Henry, Stokes, Cohen, Middleton, Burnett, Clark, Reisinger.
Please note that Councilman Bullock is a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. The state recently authorized us to enable this at the local level. This is very similar to the public safety officer's property tax credit, which provides for a $2,500 real property tax credit for individuals who work at 911 and live in the city and own real property. Thank you to my colleagues for their support, and to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0305, rezoning certain properties in the Harwood community. For the purpose of changing the zoning for certain properties in the Harwood community, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat, from the R7 zoning district to the C1 zoning district, for certain properties as outlined in blue on the accompanying plat, from the R8 zoning district to the C1 zoning district, For certain properties as outlined in green on the accompanying plat from the RA zoning district to the IMU zoning district, and for certain properties as outlined in yellow on the accompanying plat from the R7 zoning district to the IMU zoning district. Sponsors Clark Stokes.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Harwood is a wonderful neighborhood that Councilman Robert Stokes and I both represent. Greenmount Avenue's the divider between our districts. I'm on the east, Councilman Stokes is on the west, and many years ago it was the president on the west. And he and I walked up and down Greenmount Avenue on my side and then on his side, and I was very jealous because his side was doing a lot better than mine. We've come tonight to change that and to catch up and to meet the challenge of all of Harwood to really bloom in this century. And it's a great plan. It was made by the community, and it's we've had a lot of meetings about it, and we'll probably have a lot more, but it's going to be a nice combination of small businesses, workshops where you can start a business, and then regular retail and restored housing. So I'm very excited, Mr. President and my colleague, because we're catching up, and watch out. We don't want to beat you or anything at being wonderful, but we're working real hard to get there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0306, Health Code Clean Air Regulation. For the purpose of regulating the emissions from commercial solid waste incinerators, defining certain terms, requiring the continuous monitoring of certain pollutants, setting emissions limits for certain pollutants, requiring the production and public disclosure of certain emissions reports, requiring commercial solid waste incinerators to allow certain inspections, establishing a certification process for air monitoring contractors, setting certain penalties, setting special effective dates, and generally relating to clean air regulations. Sponsors Reisinger, Henry, Costello, Scott, Bullock, Stokes, Burnett, Cohen, Middleton, Dorsey, Pinkett, Sneed, Clark.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank the co-sponsors of the bill. And I just want to state that the purpose of this bill is basically to set stronger pollution limits, pollution controls, and more inspections, and to establish a process for air monitoring contractor, which will always be held by, quarterbacked by the Health Department. So, Mr. President and members of the council, the bottom line is Willowbrae needs to do more to lower emissions for the city of Baltimore. Thank you.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee. You can find the consent calendar section 8 at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Motion by Henry, second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried and this calendar is approved. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. You know, our city workers go out in the cold and the heat. They work long hours, and they care a lot about the city of Baltimore and their jobs in it. And we have some actual heroes that we wanted to call out during this Thanksgiving season, thanking them and thanking the Department of Public Works for being the place where they work and where they are so loyal. At this moment, given the traffic situation in Baltimore, I'm going to call out the one person of our heroes that I know is here, and then I'll go to the others as they, I hope they come in, but I'll name them. Let me begin by, and these are people who have saved lives in the normal course of their jobs, and one of them that I'd like to begin with first is, whoa, officer, hold on, it's going to be you. Okay.
You're going to move for full privileges.
Environmental police officer, I've got to move to, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. President, members, I would appreciate a motion, a move to allow my guests to come onto the floor of the City Council.
Second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of extending floor privileges to the guests of Councilwoman Clark, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is carried, and your guests may take the floor.
Thank you. And bring your family. Come on, we got room. All right? Come on, family. And friends. Yeah, come around there. So let me ask, we also have Carl Clark and Martine Smith. Are they here yet? And also Roland Weeks Jr. Is he here yet? I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but I'm going to begin with the officer. And I'm going to ask Mr. Chow, Director of the Department of Public Works, if he would please come up and be with this honoree. And then I'm going to tell you about the others, just so you know what a wonderful workforce we have here. So if you'll come up and be with us. Let me just tell you about the heroism of Officer Phillips. Officer Phillips is a DPW environmental police officer, Silas Phillips. He rescued a suicidal individual at the Liberty Reservoir. For this act of heroism, Officer Phillips received the DPW Environmental Police Life-Saving Award in August 2016 and received an honorable mention in April 2017 from the American Public Works Association, Mid-Atlantic Chapter, in the Public Works Hero Award category for his heroism. On May 11, 2015, Officer Phillips, now this is another chapter in his amazing life, Officer Phillips assisted in capturing a suspect who had stolen more than $10,000 worth of prescription medication in Carroll County and was reported to be armed. He pursued the suspect across the Maryland Route 26 bridge, over Liberty Reservoir, and into Baltimore County, where the suspect was apprehended. For this heroic action, Officer Phillips received the Carroll County Sheriff's Office Valor Award. Can we have a hand, please, as... These are people you don't hear about all the time when we're complaining that this didn't get done and that didn't get done. But behind all those hardworking people is a lot of heroism and a lot of incidents, but this is an outstanding one. So I've asked the Council Vice President, Councilwoman Middleton, if she would present our resolution of thanks and congratulations, and also I've just read the other resolution that's in there.
Baltimore City Council resolution, be it hereby known to all that the City Council of Baltimore offers its sincerest congratulations to Mr. Silas Phillips in recognition of heroism in rescuing a suicidal person and the capture of dangerous armed robbery suspects. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 19th day of November 2018, signed by the President Bernard C. Jack Young, Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, and all members, and also a copy of the resolution is here as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we need to get a picture, but before we do, I would like to mention two other heroic episodes. The people were going to be here tonight. They're probably caught in traffic, but I want to call their names. And they are all in the Department of Public Works. Employees Tony Carl Clark, no relation, I'm sorry to say, and Martine Smith. And they were traveling along the 1300 block of Bayless Street in September 2018 when a man flagged them down. These are DPW employees. The man asked Clark and Smith to help him assist a woman who was unconscious in the driver's seat of her vehicle. To make a long story short, they assisted, they resuscitated, and they were able to keep her alive until the emergency medic crew came, and she regained consciousness and began to respond, and the medic who did respond, paramedic, said the woman would have died if Smith had not responded with chest compressions. And so I want you to know about them. I'm sorry they can't be here, but wherever you are, thank you so much for your heroism. And finally, another hero in the Department of Public Works is Roland Weeks Jr., and he is a sanitation worker in DPW's Bureau of Solid Waste. Yes. And he saved the life of a Baltimore City citizen during the month of October 2017. While working his route the morning of October 26, Mr. Weeks spotted a woman on the ledge of the Waterview Avenue Bridge that overlooks the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, just as he and his crew were arriving across the bridge. Mr. Weeks jumped off his truck to approach the woman and persuaded her not to jump from the bridge. The rest of his crew joined him and calmed the woman with kind words and prayer. When emergency crews arrived, they saw Mr. Weeks and his crew praying with and comforting the woman. The emergency crews later told the DPW crew they had handled the situation well. Our people are heroes, as well as the people that do the basic jobs that keep us operating as a city. They are also heroes in their own right, and we should talk about that more often, because so many, many brave tasks or crime-stopping tasks occur that we just let get past us, and it's good to have a chance to say thank you. And okay, can we, Mr. President, can you come down so we can all take a picture? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to bills on second reader. Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Mr. President, I make a motion to read short titles for the remainder of the meeting.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of short title for the remainder of the hearing say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. Short hearings. We will now move to bills on second reader. Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0177 Jasper D. Jones, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 6.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee held hearings on November the 7th and the 14th, 2018. I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilwoman Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0178 Henry M. K., Member, Parking Authority Board of Directors, District 6.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This nominee is confirmed.
EA 18-0180 Sarah Louise Matthews, Member, Commission on Aging and Retirement, Education, District 6.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee, say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nominee is confirmed.
EA 18-0181 Ann P. Powell, Member, Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation, District 6.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Move the nomination favorable.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee, say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0182 Jacqueline F. Bouchard, Member, Public Art Commission, District 6.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Move the nomination favorable.
That's District 1. District 1. Oh, okay. Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee, say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nominee is confirmed.
EA 18-0183 Ku Pao Lon, Member, Public Art Commission, District 1.
Second, Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Cohen. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0184, Brian A. Oster, Member, Public Art Commission.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. Please note that Councilman Scott is a no. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0185, Danielle M. Brock, Member, Public Art Commission, District 3.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0186, Sam Christian Holmes, Member, Public Art Commission, District 5.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Pinkett. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0187, Sean C. Bloodsworth, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 11.
Chair recognizes Councilman
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0188, Angela Burnett, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 4.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0189, Jeanette L. Cole, Esquire, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 11.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Move the nomination
Second
favorable.
by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0190, Glenda S. Curtis, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 2.
Chair recognizes Councilman
I
Stokes.
move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0191, Jason Jonas Hart, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 4.
Chair recognizes Councilman
Move the
Stokes.
nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0192, Reverend Brenda D. White, Member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 8.
Chair recognizes Councilman
I
Stokes.
move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0193, Donna D. Brown, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women, District 7.
Chair recognizes Councilman
I
Stokes.
move the nomination
Second
favorable.
by Councilman Pinkett. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0194, Aaron E. Bryant, Member, Public Art Commission, District 6.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye.
I move the nomination favorable.
This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0195, Kurt Shannon Butts, Member, Public Art Commission, District 2.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination
Second
favorable.
by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0196, Alma Roberts, Member, Public Art Commission, District 5.
I
Chair
move,
recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed. Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0224, City Streets Opening, Eastbourne Avenue and a portion of Savage Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Housing and Urban Affairs Committee met on November 13th to hear 3 bills. The first 2 bills on the agenda are an opening and closing, which were heard simultaneously. Staff did point out inconsistencies in the spelling of a street name. After the hearing, we came to an agreement with the administration on the floor amendments to make these spellings consistent. These amendments are on the desk of our colleagues. Would like to move the floor amendments.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
I move the bill favorably.
Second by Councilman Cohen. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0225, City Streets Closing, Eastbourne Avenue and a portion of Savage Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
I move the bill favorably, Mr. President.
Second by Councilman Cohen. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. This motion to approve the bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0292, Urban Renewal, Market Center Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are technical amendments on our colleagues' desks. Like to move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move the bill favorably as amended.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. This motion to approve this bill moves to third reader. Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0217, zoning conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 2 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district, 1823 West Baltimore Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the finding of facts.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of approving the finding of the facts say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion to approve the finding of facts is adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, there's no amendments. I move the bill favorable.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0272, zoning sign regulations.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, the committee heard the bill on November the 14th. There is a packet of committee amendments, which includes amendments from the Planning Department, the Planning Commission, Council members Middleton and Council members Costello. These amendments are on the council member's desk. I move the amendments.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. You said nay?
Henry abstain.
Oh, please note Councilman Henry abstains. Chair recognizes
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Council Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Please note that Councilman Henry abstained. This bill moves to third reader. Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0238, Baltimore City Parking Authority contracts.
Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We're on the Baltimore City Parking Authority contracts.
The committee held a hearing for this bill on November 8th, 2018. The committee approved this bill as favorable. I move the bill with a favorable report.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Most approved this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0293, Baltimore Tourism Improvement District establishment.
Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, there are committee amendments on the members' desks. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion approved. The bill is amended. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, I have floor amendments on the members' desks. I move those amendments.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion approved. The bill is amended. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. Who's a no? Please note that Councilman Pinkett is a no. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Resolution 18-0104R, informational hearing, subsidies to Baltimore City's hospitality and tourism industry now and in the future.
Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, I would like to, okay. The committee held a hearing on this bill on November 1st. The committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill with a favorable report.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 18-0104R say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carried and this resolution is adopted. You wanted to say something, Councilwoman Clark?
Congratulations.
Councilwoman Clark.
Mr. President, members of the council, and members of the gallery, congratulations on another step forward to somehow getting a return that matters on the investments we made in this hotel. $47 million over the years in deferred taxes by the hotel, and in return, to date, half-time jobs, benefits that move back and forth. You got to have 30 hours, and sometimes you just don't happen to get it if things aren't going right with you. And also health benefits. And it's not what we bargained for when many years ago Baltimore built the Inner Harbor with gazillion dollars, not so we could have tall buildings to admire, but because we had to replace the jobs that we were losing at Sparrows Point and elsewhere that paid union wages. Then it turned out, after all the money we invested, one after another hotel didn't reinvest in its own employees. Not what anyone had in mind. Won't put up with it forever. We've been successful reversing the tide elsewhere in the hotel industry here. And our next victory will be when the Marriott returns the investments we made, including $47 million in taxes they didn't have to pay, by providing basic, full-time, fair, benefited jobs for the decent and wonderful people who are fighting right now to even keep their health benefits. Thank you. Thank you.
Third reader for final passage.
City Council Bill 18-0174, City Streets Closing, Brunt Court, and certain alleys bounded by Robert Street, Division Street, Wilson Street, and Brunt Street. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 17-0175, City Streets Closing, all streets and alleys bounded by East Biddle Street, Greenmount Avenue, East Chase Street, and Falls Way. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0189, Short-Term Residential Rentals, Regulation and Taxation.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've been working on this for almost 2 years now. We have one very minor technical issue that needs to be addressed. Specifically, there is an issue with the grandfathered property and whether or not you need to have a primary short-term rental license at your primary property, which is certainly not what we intended or agreed to. So because of that, and because we couldn't get the amendment done by today at 5 p.m., I'd like to move to hold this bill over for one meeting.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of holding this bill over for one meeting, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried, and this bill will be on third reader at the December the 3rd council meeting. Would you say, Councilwoman? Okay, please note that Councilwoman Clark abstains. Okay.
City Council Bill 18-0198, City Streets Closing, Denmore Avenue and certain alleys lying between West Garrison Avenue, Park Heights Avenue, Woodland Avenue, and Edgemere Avenue. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0203, Zoning Conditional Use Conversion of a Single-Family Dwelling Unit to 3 dwelling units in the R7 Zoning District, variances 301 East 28th Street. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0227, City Streets Closing, Wilcox Street, and 5 alleys bounded by East Chase Street, Enzer Street, East Eager Street, and Valley Street. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0254, Property Tax Credit, School Public Safety Officers. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
Please note that Councilman, who said no? Dorsey is a no. This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0257, Zoning Conditional Use Conversion of a Single-Family Dwelling Unit to 4 dwelling units in the R8 Zoning District, variances 310 East Lanville Street. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0258, Zoning Conditional Use Conversion of a Single-Family Dwelling Unit to 2 dwelling units in the R8 Zoning District, variance 417 East Lafayette Avenue. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0265, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Police Department, $21 million. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
Who was the noes? Please note Councilman Scott, Councilman Cohen, Councilman Dorsey, Councilman Burnett as a no, Councilman Snead as a no. This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0273, repeal of Ordinance 11-562-6709, Pulaski Highway Plant Unit Development. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0276, lactation accommodations in the workplace.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Snead.
Mr. President, I hereby invoke Rule 12-3 and move to amend this bill on a third reader.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of invoking Rule 12-3 to move to amend this bill on third reader, say aye. There's got to be a roll call? Okay. Roll call?
President Young?
Yes.
President Young, yes. Councilman Cohen? Councilman Cohen, yes. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Dorsey? Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilman Henry? Councilman Henry, yes. Councilman Schleifer is absent. Councilwoman Middleton? Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Pinkett? Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Burnett? Councilman Burnett, yes. Councilman Bullock? Councilman Bullock, yes. Councilman Reisinger? Councilman Reisinger, yes. Councilman Costello? Councilman Costello, yes. Councilman Stokes? Councilman Stokes, yes. Councilwoman Snead?
Yes.
Councilwoman Snead, yes. Councilwoman Clark?
I have to go back because I needed to have gotten a second from Vice President Middleton. He already did the roll call now. So the motion is approved, the amendment is adopted. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Snead.
Yes, I move this amendment.
The amendments are adopted. She had to move them separate.
Mm-hmm.
We did the votes for it. Okay, we're going to be voting on the amendments.
President Young?
Yes.
President Young, yes. Councilman Cohen? Councilman Cohen, yes. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Dorsey? Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilman Henry? Councilman Henry, yes. Councilman Schleifer is absent. Councilwoman Middleton? Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Pinkett? Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Burnett? Councilman Burnett, yes. Councilman Bullock? Councilman Bullock, yes. Councilman Reisinger? Councilman Reisinger, yes. Councilman Costello? Councilman Costello, yes. Councilman Stokes? Councilman Stokes, yes. Councilwoman Snead?
Yes.
Councilwoman Snead, yes. Councilwoman Clark?
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Snead.
Mr. President, I move to hold this bill over for one meeting.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of holding this bill over for one meeting, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. The bill will be printed in the roll form. Bill 18-0221, recall from the mayor. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to invoke Rule 13-3 to reconsider passage of Council Bill 18-0221.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of invoking Rule 13-3 to reconsider passage Council Bill 18-0221, say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Mr. President, I hereby invoke
What are you shaking
Rule...
your head for? Hold on for a minute. What are you shaking your head for? We don't know what we're... They're not on your desk? So we had them and no one put them on the desk, is what you're saying?
These are like technical
See, this is embarrassing.
amendments.
So my question is, where were they? Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I think you know that all the members of the council support the efforts around affordable housing in the city, but this is the first that my colleagues and I, we weren't briefed on this. We didn't hear anything about this. We didn't have it on our desk until just now. No one said anything to us about this until just now. Wasn't brought up at the luncheon, nothing.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Can the sponsor or someone explain what's going on, or just what this does?
Chairman Bullock, are you familiar? Guys, we can't continue this way. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President. I was under the assumption that the administration, the chair, had this conversation. So apparently when the initial bill was passed, there was the language that we initially had and then the agreement that we had between the administration. This essentially just clarifies the language so it's not double counted. That's essentially what was going on there. I thought that the conversation was had.
Do everybody understand that? Chair recognizes Vice President. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Point of information, no. Yes. Would it be a tremendous inconvenience if this happened at the December 3rd meeting instead of today? Because that would offer plenty of time for people to be briefed.
Is that the consensus of the council?
There's
Roll call.
The bill signing is scheduled for
Roll
December
call.
4th.
Roll call.
President Young?
No.
President Young, no. Councilman Cohen? Councilman Cohen, no. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Dorsey?
It's just a change. We're voting to recall the bill from the mayor's office. That's what we're voting on.
Co-
There was a motion to invoke Rule 13-3 to reconsider a vote by which a bill passed the third reading. The councilman told you what it did. It had two different points. Am I correct? And in order to fix it, we have to recall the bill back, fix it with the amendment, and then pass the affordable housing bill. Am I correct? Simple. Chair recognizes Chairman Bullock.
And just to reiterate, it is not a substantive change to the bill. It is simply just clarifying the language.
I understand it clearly, but if it's the consensus of the council to do this at the December the 3rd meeting, which will hold the bill, the affordable bill piece up, if that's what you want to do, we're going to do a roll call. It's the roll call just to bring it back to fix it. That's all it is. Okay. Yeah. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
So this vote is to bring the
bill back to fix it.
And then if we fixed it, that's another vote.
Right.
And then somebody will stand up and explain clearly
What happened?
it is, because we're losing, they're scratching out some lines, and I don't, we got to be careful what we're doing here, or else it will come back to bite us.
The only thing we're doing is the chairman just,
Yeah,
Councilman Bullock,
I
can
trust
you
the chairman
state
if he
exactly?
tells us what
Can you
it
stand
is.
up and state that exactly again, what we're doing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's changing it, but I don't know how.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
What? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
So good evening once again. So again, with the initial bill, we had the recordation, transfer, taxes, surtax, dedicating surtax proceeds to affordable housing. Essentially, it's a double tax in terms of the way the language was initially passed. So we're trying to take out the duplicative language so that it reads exactly what we thought we were passing the first time.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Vice President.
And that's why in my next statement, I was going to invoke another rule to amend the bill to go to third reader. So if we had have gotten through the next step, I think it would have been more clarification.
Well, they didn't have the information on their desk at hand. Chair recognizes Councilman. Are you finished, Vice President? Vice President Middleton, are you finished? Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I just want to also reiterate what Councilman Bullock said. I happened to have a meeting earlier today with a member of the administration, and this came up in conversation. So I was briefed on this. So I just want to know, I wanted to just let other council members know that I was made aware of this, and I can corroborate what Councilman Bullock is saying about the intention here. And just to put it in my own words, the bill as we passed it imposes 2 taxes, whereas our collective understanding was very clearly that
That's exactly what he said.
that we're imposing 1 tax, and the intention
That's
here
exactly what he said.
is to bring it
I don't know where the
back
confusion at.
to the council and then pass some amendments so that we're only imposing the 1 tax that we intended to pose and then passing it out of second reader to third reader. And I believe that we intend to pass it back again on third reader so that it can be signed by the mayor in due time.
I mean, that's the same thing that the chair said. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
So, should I go back?
We already invoked Rule 13-3.
So, Mr. President, can I invoke Rule 13-3 at this time to amend the bill to third reader?
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Nay.
I already said
Chair
this.
recognizes Councilwoman. Did we vote on the recall? Chair recognizes Councilman Scott. Hold on. I know. Yeah. We're voting on the recall.
President Young?
Yes.
President Young, yes. Councilman Cohen? Councilman Cohen, yes. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Dorsey? Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilman Henry? Councilman Henry, yes. Councilman Schleifer is absent. Councilwoman Middleton? Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Pinkett? Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Burnett? Councilman Burnett, yes. Councilman Bullock? Councilman Bullock, yes. Councilman Reisinger? Councilman Reisinger, yes. Councilman Costello?
Michael.
Councilman Costello, yes. Councilman Stokes? Councilman Stokes, yes. Councilwoman Sneed? Councilwoman Sneed, yes. Councilwoman Clark? Councilwoman Clark, yes.
Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
And, Mr. President, I hereby invoke Rule 12-3 to amend this bill on third reader.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of the amended bill on third reader, we have to do a roll call.
Let me get another one. President Young?
Yes.
President Young, yes. Councilman Cohen? Councilman Cohen, yes. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Dorsey? Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilman Henry?
You can continue. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to say that I'm no longer confused, but I think now I'm just a little annoyed because I appreciate the efforts of Councilman Bullock and Councilman Dorsey to give us at this time, as we're getting ready to make a change to a rather sweeping and important piece of legislation. I appreciate your efforts to give us the briefing that should have been given to us sooner and in a much more complete fashion. I'm still a little uncomfortable at the thought of actually voting for these amendments right now without having had that full briefing with plenty of opportunity to ask questions that I'd like to think that's the level of due diligence we should be giving to legislation, especially something of this caliber. And so what I'm still not sure I've gotten an answer on is whether there is huge time pressure involved in passing this tonight. I understand that there's a bill signing scheduled for the 4th, but we have a council meeting on the 3rd. So unless somebody can explain why, I would vote no against doing these amendments now.
He just explained it. Councilman Dorsey just explained it. I don't know how much plainer it could be explained. I really don't. I don't understand it. The chairman explained it, then Councilman Dorsey came back and explained it. It's to stop the bill from having 2 taxes and have the bill as we intended for it to be with the one tax. Am I correct?
I guess, Mr. President, the only thing that concerns me about that explanation is that seems to be a very straightforward, simple explanation, which then makes me very concerned as to how did we pass a bill that does two taxes when we all thought we were passing a bill that does one, and why did not someone say something sooner if that is in fact all that is happening? How did we pass a bill that did two taxes instead of one if that's the issue?
Well, Councilman, the short answer is you voted for it and I voted for it.
Yeah.
You know, we all voted for it. It was a mistake, like we always have mistakes with some bills. So all it's doing is correcting a mistake that was made. It's not the first time this has happened.
I appreciate that, Mr. President. I abstain.
Thank you.
Councilman Henry abstains. Councilman Schleifer is absent. Councilwoman Middleton. Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Pinkett. Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Burnett. Councilman Burnett, yes. Councilman Bullock. Councilman Bullock, yes. Councilman Reisinger. Councilman Reisinger, yes. Councilman Costello. Councilman Costello, yes. Councilman Stokes. Councilman Stokes, yes. Councilwoman Sneed. Councilwoman Sneed, yes. Councilwoman Clark.
Yes, I'd like to say one thing. No matter how high and true the integrity of our colleagues, which I think in this particular council is pretty high, when the administration is working with us on legislation, and we who aren't on the original committee are not as familiar as others, it always scares me when something shows up that nobody has had the chance to talk to us about before. I'm voting yes, but I'm doing it, as I hold my breath, the way you owe it. Everybody's acting in good faith. I really believe that. But that doesn't always mean it's what we think it is. And so I believe in this case it is, but I would ask for more time from the administration if they have issues like this for amendments for us to give us, talk to all of us about it instead of making us act instantaneously in the middle of a meeting. Thank you. I vote yes.
I agree, Councilwoman Clark, that everybody should have been informed and briefed. But this is going to make sure that the bill is passed so that we won't be slowing down what needs to be done for the affordable housing. So this bill is approved. I'm sorry, the motion to approve this bill is amended. This bill having been printed on enrolled form, I will ask the clerk to read the enrolled version of Council Bill 18-0221.
City Council Bill 18-0221, recordation and transfer taxes, surtax, dedicating surtax proceeds to Affordable Housing Trust Fund. For the purpose of imposing a surtax on recordations subject to the recordation tax and a surtax on property transfers subject to the transfer tax, providing for an exemption from these surtaxes for certain residential properties, dedicating the proceeds from these surtaxes to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund created by City Charter Article 1, Section 14, correcting, clarifying, and conforming related language, and generally relating to the city's recordation and transfer taxes.
Roll call.
President Young?
Yes.
President Young, yes. Councilman Cohen? Councilman Cohen, yes. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Dorsey? Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilman Henry? Councilman Henry, yes. Councilman Schleifer is absent. Councilwoman Middleton? Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Pinkett? Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Burnett? Councilman Burnett, yes. Councilman Bullock? Councilman Bullock, yes. Councilman Reisinger? Councilman Reisinger, yes. Councilman Costello? Councilman Costello, yes. Councilman Stokes? Councilman Stokes, yes. Councilwoman Sneed? Councilwoman Sneed, yes. Councilwoman Clark? Councilwoman Clark, yes.
This bill is approved. Councilman Bullock, would you like to say something since you're the sponsor?
Again, thank you, Mr. President, not only for this evening, but for also helping throughout this entire process. Also thank to the advocates who have been pushing for affordable housing in our city, and also to our colleagues on the council. Very proud that we all stood together and able to pass this unanimously. We know this is not the be-all and end-all as it relates to housing in Baltimore City, but we know this moves us closer toward our goal, which is to making sure that people have safe, decent, affordable housing, and that we are making sure that the least of these have the options and the ability to have a life for themselves and for their families, whether they're in East Baltimore, West Baltimore, South or North. And so again, I thank you all for your work on this. This has been a long time coming, and we know we have so much more work to do in our city, but again, I thank you all who have been working on this, and also the mayor's administration and her team as well. Again, we have a lot of work to do, but this is a great step in the right direction. So again, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Committee announcements.
We need 12 to pass. We need 12 to pass, and Nancy's not here. It failed.
Okay. We're going to go back to Council Bill 18-0265 and hold it till the next council meeting. Got to get a second. Second by Councilor Scott. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. All right, committee announcements. Anybody over here? Councilman, everybody say, come here. Come here. Come here for a minute. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, members of the council, the Land Use and Transportation Committee will hold a hearing on Bill 18-0290 on January 9th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is zoning conditional use residential care facility variances located at 1208, 1210 through 1222, and 1224 through 1226 East Baltimore Street. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Committee announcements. Committee announcements. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Taxation, Finance, Economic Development Committee will hear City Council Bill 18-0103R Thursday, January 17th, 2019 at 10 a.m. here in council chambers. It's an informational hearing on the decline of the small business lending in Baltimore. And also, Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee will hear City Council Bill 18-0297, Thursday, January 17th, 2019, here at 10:05 a.m. in council chambers. And it's the prevailing wages tax increment financing projects.
Regular announcements. The clearing of the bill status will be December the 7th, 2018. If you have any bills that have not been acted upon, they will be cleared off of the bill status. So you need to see Michael Huber or Liam Davis. You have a committee announcement. Chair recognizes Councilor Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Housing and Urban Affairs Committee will be having a hearing on December 11th to hear Bill 18-0281, which is City Streets closing a portion of South Washington Street. That will be in council chambers at 3 p.m. again on December 11th. Also on that day at 3:05, we'll be hearing Council Bill 18-0282, which is City Streets opening 10-foot alley bounded by North Howard Street, West 24th Street, May Street, and West 23rd Street. And at 3:10 on the same day, we'll be hearing Council Bill 18-0283, City Streets closing 10-foot alley bounded by North Howard, West 24th Street, May Street, and West 23rd Street. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. No more committee announcements, regular announcements. You got a committee announcement? Okay. Happy birthday to Councilman Costello, who is celebrating his birthday November the 23rd. If you would, y'all have this little gift for him. Huh? They're not going to sing, so don't forget that. Immediately following tonight's council meeting, I'd like to extend an invitation for everyone to join me for a reception honoring a local youth basketball team. The reception will take place right across the hall in the current room, where we will honor the 7-year-old AAU basketball players from Baltimore for their accomplishment this summer, winning the 7 and under AAU basketball national championship. Any other announcements? Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Mr. President, I rise to ask that Councilwoman Middleton honor a moment of silence for the now 274 homicide victims in Baltimore and their families, and all of those that we've lost to the ongoing opioid crisis as well.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
The next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, December 3rd, 2018 at 5 p.m. And may we have a moment of silence for the families that suffer from the opioid epidemic, and also the families of the 274 victims of homicide.
Thank you. There being no further business, this concludes the 45th meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council. Good night.